evening, everybody. How you doing today? We have Marco Palos from the Fat Cat Swingers. Now, I'm a huge swing and jazz fan, so I'm totally stoked to be able to get to talk to Marco. And he's had some. His band has had some pretty unique, long-running gigs, house gigs, and it's going to be really interesting to see from his perspective what goes on there. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Marcos, what's happening, brother?
Hey, how you doing, Vince?
Good, man. Welcome. You're the first act to report directly from the tour van. Thank you very much. That is very cool, man.
Awesome. Yeah, we luckily found a Love's right now, pulled over, got the RV parking going, and some of the band is inside and getting some food in the meantime. So it's worked out perfectly.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't understand the amount of travel bands have to do and endure day in, day out just to entertain us. So you've had some pretty interesting gigs, man.
Yes, sir.
Disney.
Indeed.
Tell us about that. How did that all come about? And that's a great gig.
I would say for us that was a really big step up. We had been, I club gigs and so many of those, venues will always have a special place in my heart because I love that feeling. But when we first got the opportunity to play at Disney, it was an audition. Like I had to convince the booker to come watch us, and the only way he would watch us is if we booked something in Orange County or at Disney. And I happened to find out that there was an event that needed entertainment for a party that was going to happen in downtown Disney. So I got us booked on that, and then the booker came in. He saw like half a song, and he goes, "Marco, I love it. I'll be in touch." And that was it. And then he leaves, and then sure enough, he called us, and we started working at downtown Disney, which I call the place where you pay your dues. And at least when we first came in, it was a lot different than nowadays. Nowadays, it's there's hundreds of bands submitting every day,
Right.
and they do things. And if you pass the first thing, you have to go into the park and do an actual audition. Whereas our day, it was kind of like you had to find yourself a gig, and he just wanted to come witness you in the element.
Gotcha.
So it's different. They've had two people retire now in that position since we've joined. But we played downtown Disney, and then about 3 or 4 years of paying our dues there, we finally got our opportunity to play inside the park. And that was the Food and Wine Festival. And that was our first experience with that, which was really interesting because playing a club, you think, you got one shot to play the show. But now you're playing a theme park and you've got multiple sets in a day. That first year, I think we played 6 sets a day.
Wow.
Now, they were like 25, 30 minutes, but still outdoor, 6 sets a day. That's a lot of music to cover.
And a lot.
And they told us, they said, you can play the same set all day. I was like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to
Right.
challenge ourselves. So we did. And from there, they asked us to create a Christmas show. And then that was when that became part of what we did. We never had a Christmas show, and then we would alternate between Food and Wine and then the Christmas. And eventually, I guess, after enough years of playing in the theme park, we were able to meet Michael, our manager. Well, I mean, I've known Michael for many years, but I was able to convince him to be like, hey, look at what we have here. There's something really special, and I think we could take it beyond. Michael brought us on. He brought our agents, and then we just the thing we're driving home right now is our very first time at Dollywood, a theme park that is in collaboration with Dolly Parton, and it's pretty awesome to have had that for an entire month residency, for 5 days a week, 3 shows a day.
How cool is Dolly Parton?
I wish I could say we met her. We didn't get to meet her, but everything that I've seen and everything that I've heard from everyone who's met her at Dollywood is just she's basically a saint.
The book program alone.
Exactly. We went into the Dolly Parton experience just 2 days ago, and at the end of it, you see the Imagination Library, and it shows how many books have been donated. And our trumpet player, who has a daughter, he says, actually, a lot of my daughter's books are from Dolly's Imagination Library. And I'm like, wow, so it reaches so many people. It's amazing what she does and gives back in so many ways.
Yeah, my youngest had books from Dolly Parton.
Really? Yeah.
So, I mean, how cool, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So
You know,
very cool.
everything was going electronic. She's still knowing there's something about holding a book.
Exactly. Yep.
And, there's something about, for instance, you play swing music, just
Mhm.
like people with books. Some people like it on the Kindle. They want the electronic, but there's something about jazz. There's something about a horn section. There's something about big band. It's like no other art form. It's totally. If you don't have fun at a swing show, like you have a problem. You know?
Yeah, I could say so.
Like how can you feel down? You know what I mean? No wonder why it was the backdrop for World War II. Like
Yeah.
like at the starkest moment, the best, most exciting, explosive music.
Yeah.
So how did you get into swing?
Gosh, I mean, for me, I grew up with my mom listened to a lot of AM radio and my dad listened to FM radio. So as I got the best of both worlds at that time, growing up. I always talk about my dad's cassette tape collection. When I'm talking about growing up and such, and I love everything that he had. Uh, I guess it was through him that I kind of got familiarized with everything that was the hits, and with my mom. I learned everything that was, the hits of yesterday.
Yeah,
She loved, Glenn Miller, Artie Shaw, Benny Goodman, and she had her favorite song. Still to this day, she says, "Will you guys please play Begin to Begin?" And it's interesting because it's one of the ones we haven't done, but it's like also you try to find the songs that fit certain gigs, right?
right.
So it's like there's not that many gigs where we could, play that song. Unless I did it specifically for my mom, which we could do one day,
Yeah,
but there were many others that she requested that we did play, and as the band just evolved over time, we went from doing the traditional swing to the traditional swing covers to then suddenly finding our place of being like, let's start reimagining songs. And
yeah.
I would say that that's kind of where we've evolved over time, but it all started with the music exposure that my parents gave me.
Yeah, I grew up as well. My dad was a magician, so he was always looking for songs for his act. So we lived in the jazz space, and he loved swing music, anything with horns. Horn
Oh,
section still to
yeah.
this day. If if a horn section's playing, I stop whatever I'm doing and I listen because there's not enough horns. Just put it that.
There are not enough horns, and that's why I, since day one, have committed to keeping 5 horns in our band.
Yeah,
Uh, no matter the ups and downs of the industry and the times when you're like fighting for a three or four $500 gig back in the day, and
hmm,
then now it's like I hope I can pay everybody three, four, $500, and like just to,
right,
but it's so hard to do with such a big band, but
oh, absolutely,
I refuse to give up on the big horn section. And so many times, like sometimes we'll have clients be like, "Hey, can you make the band smaller?" I'm like, "No,
right.
it's not really the same thing anymore. It's not like
No,
until you see it, you're not going to. If you don't understand right now, you have to see it to really understand why 5 horns makes a difference. And if I could afford 6, I'd go for 6. But you know what? We found the sweet spot with
yeah.
5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm from Chicago, so like the Chicago blues horns,
Yes.
and then as the Chicago rock scene got bigger, Steve Miller came on and
Hmm.
Butterfield and all these guys, but then you had Chicago, CTA, the Chicago Transit Authority, which turned into Chicago. You had the Ides March, all great horn sections. It was just
Fantastic. Yeah.
something, that's what made the Blues Brothers band, even though it was a real band, but still semi fictitious, great band.
Yes.
The David
All
Letterman band, horns, great band. SNL
all
band,
exactly, all of those definitely had an influence in my like what I saw on stage growing up. And you mentioned the Blues Brothers, even a fictitious band, but it's funny because there's elements of what they do that I remember at any given chapter of our years as a band. um I can think of little moments where I'm like, I love entertainment. I love, the comedy of things. I love being able to incorporate a little slapstick and not being afraid to be cheesy, but not so cheesy that it's like unauthentic. Like there's something about the things that we do that there is this almost cartoon like energy. But when you see it in person, it's like, okay, I feel like everything balances out. You just enough cheesiness, but also a lot of realness and rawness that you could only get from actual horns and that upright bass and the guitar and the drums and everything, the sound of the keys, when it all comes together, it's just powerful.
Oh, absolutely. And whenever I go see, it's different when you walk into a place and they're playing big band. Usually, I would say maybe half the audience are musicians.
Mm,
You know what I mean? It's one art form where they stop and they'll go see specifically because
yeah.
it is that construct.
Hmm. Yeah.
And there's nothing better, when a saxophone screams and your hairs stick up, or the trumpet and they're trying to hit that high note. There's nothing like.
Totally.
So how is it different when you're playing at these like theme parks thing? Because you have people there, they're dropping a lot of dough. They got rides going on. Like, what was the oddest thing that you like had to perform in? You look up and there's this happening, or like, because theme parks are different every day. There could be
Right. I would
elephant.
say that the things that we discovered at a theme park that I would say the biggest relief first was that you no longer had to try to fill a house. You weren't fighting for ticket sales. You weren't fighting for, to be the band that brings in enough people just so you can make enough money just to
Right.
pay a bill or whatever, right? All of a sudden, it switched to where it's like, okay, we're paid a guaranteed amount.
Hmm.
Now, if we want to maximize it, the way that we took it when we went into the theme park was like, we're now competing against roller coasters
Right.
and shows, like big time, like you know fictitious characters that everyone's in love with and grew up with, and they want to go meet Ariel, the Little Mermaid, and they want to go meet Mickey Mouse and everyone else. Like, you're competing against that. So
Right.
I said, how do we grab their attention so much that we get them, and it just keeps growing and growing? And that was the goal from day one that we came into the park.
Right.
And somehow we figured it out. And for us, it was one, it was being ourselves, but two, I think it's finding what elements of yourselves are you wanting to expand and grow on. Like, for me, I love movies, I love cartoons, I love so
Right.
many things. So we found a few Disney. Not, we didn't do too many Disney songs until like about 3 years ago, um, because we had a request to create a show that was 100% Disney music.
Oh
And so
wow.
we said, wow. So it wasn't until then, but I would say, I wouldn't call it odd, but one of the interesting things was that Disney, like that, and it's not a Disney show, because we're a band that plays at Disney. We're not a Disney band. So I want to make sure that
Right.
that's clear, just so nobody ever comes and say, "Hey, you're that Disney band." No, we're not. We're not. We're a band that plays at Disney,
Right.
but we created a show of all Disney songs. Um, that was again requested by Disney. So we that in those moments we played what was the Royal Ball, and next to us were the Royals. So Cinderella was there, and Ariel and Princess Jasmine, right? So what was really unique and interesting and maybe different than anywhere else you would find is you're playing these songs, and one of the songs that we pulled out from the Swiss Family Robinson movie was
Wow.
the Swiss Capolka. And they're like, how are we going to pull off the Swiss Capolka? Well, I mean, technically, we have all the instruments to do it, so let's just do it. So we start playing the Swiss Capolka, and all of a sudden, Cinderella runs out to the middle and she's like, hey, everybody, here's how we do it. And she created a mob of like 400 people doing the polka while we're playing the Swiss Capolka. And I'm thinking, like, wow,
That's
I never would have thought we'd be playing the polka and everyone,
right.
like normal people, dancing the polka.
Right.
And I was like, that is something I never thought we'd be doing. But it's like anything is possible with this band. You could play something so classical, something so old, something so new. Because of the instrumentation, it
Right.
allows for you to go in so many directions. Like, I'm getting chills thinking about it. Like, it's just so much fun. But I
It's
would say, yeah.
not like, it's not like, you playing there. It's not just like people coming from that state. Like, you're
Right.
gaining international fans, because that's, of course, one of the magnets for international travel.
Yeah.
And I mean, the amount of numbers international, I mean, that has to be really cool, you know?
It is pretty cool. And I would say, actually, having had our very first experience with Dollywood, there's actually even more international people at Dollywood than I've
Really?
witnessed at Disney. Yes, actually, it really surprised me. I didn't. This year, I'm really learning a lot about Dollywood here. But yes, you're right, because so many people come from all over the place. It's such a vacation destination, Disneyland. So when people come out there and they see us and they're on vacation, um, we've had people actually tell us that once they discovered us, they planned their Disney vacation around our schedule of being there. And I'm just like blown away by that. Like, some like,
That's
wow,
really
it's special. I mean, I know what it takes to try and have a vacation, and especially when you start incorporating the kids and everyone else, and it's like, or just more people. It's a lot of planning, and for them to stick us into their plans, I'm honored by that. But it's really cool to have that exposure from all over. And then, as we just started touring last year. We've been mostly a Southern California based band, especially once we got into Disney. We just kind of stayed there for a while because it was such a great gig. But the moment we started touring, we would have people pop out and be like, "Hey, I saw you guys at Disney. I saw you at Disney. I saw you at Disney." It was like, "Wow, cool." So the connections are happening, and it's really fun in that way.
Oh, yeah, because no matter where you're going, people have seen you from that city already. Like, you have a built-in audience base now. I mean, and
Hmm.
people try for years and years and years and years and years, stepping up the touring game to gain that, and you've already got it. So that's
It's
a great
it's
place
it's
to
a
be.
leg up with places like Disney, and also folks like Ron Onesti, who's bringing us to Chicago for
Yep.
this stuff. I want to give him a big thank you too, because it's he's said, I want to bring you guys and help you build an audience here, and it's like,
Yeah.
when you get those opportunities and those people who believe in you, like, it's such a
Yeah.
game changer. The way that Disney offered us the years of work that they've given us, to build a fan base, and now, Ron's doing that in Chicago, and bringing us to open for the Rascals, which I was like, I never thought I'd open for the Rascals. That's pretty awesome.
That's
I
awesome.
And it's bringing me back to like or roots of Fat Cat, when we used to look for bands to open for. I mean, we
Yeah.
opened for like Cherry Poppin' Daddies, Royal Crown Review, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy,
Yep.
the Coasters, and Vogue. Who else? Just a few random people, but it's like, I love that opportunity of getting seen by a built-in audience, and that is, I think, honestly, the I don't know how you say, the goose that lays the golden egg. It's like opening, finding those spots until you then become the band that people come to see all the time.
Right.
you
And
know
what's cool about the type of music that you play, if people have not heard of you, they'll come see you anyway because of the genre. Like, oh, a swing, this, but what? They have a five-piece horn. So, okay, we're going. Like having
right.
that, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's okay, we're going. Like,
Hmm.
so it's
Yeah.
really interesting, and like blues is becoming more popular again, and hopefully that translates into horn-based music, and
Right.
but I mean, yeah, you have the podiums. I mean, come on. I mean, what more do you?
Yeah, and it's interesting because when we first started, we I was just showing some of the band members, some of our newer band members, I was showing them how we first started our very first promo video, which I don't even think is listed public. I should probably relist it, because it's so interesting to see where it started and where it's gone. But we
Right.
didn't have the bandstands, but we positioned ourselves like Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, because they were one of the bands that inspired us to get started.
Great band, great band.
We're a wonderful band, and I love every single one of those guys. And I remember the day that I asked if we could open for them. The guys in the band are like, "Hey, listen, like, we're happy to do it, but we want to see you guys like do this for real. So, like, make an album, and when you have an album, you can open for us." So we
Yeah,
got to work. It took us a couple years, but we made that album and then got to open for them at the House of Blues in Anaheim. And I remember that day so clearly. But we kind of set ourselves up the same way they did, because we're like, this is how swing bands set up.
yeah,
And then somebody told us, they're like, "Hey, listen, just going to give you an idea, but you guys are like a wall of sound, and you should present yourselves like a wall of sound." And
right.
then I thought, we thought about that, and then that was when the first podium bandstands were created for us.
Mhm.
And one of our guys, he loved working with wood, and so he's like, let me try. And then they evolved. I think we've gone. This design that we have now is our third or fourth design. However, now this is our fourth round of these bandstands that we keep evolving
Yeah.
because we want to be able to travel with them on airplanes,
Right.
check them in. You can't check in things over 100 pounds for luggage, so you got to keep it under 100 pounds, but make them sturdy enough to really either
Right.
hold a heavy iPad or withstand the wind. So yeah, but that became part of a look, and I want to say that it's almost like that is also what allowed us to have many musicians, because a lot of people don't realize, but we have approximately 30 to 50 musicians that we have rehearsed and we can trust within this band. At least I should say I can trust within this band. I would say about 20 to 30 of them could go out and perform like right now. And then the others, like they could use something like what we just did at Dollywood, where it's like if just repetition is all they need to
Right.
really understand even more.
Yeah.
Because I always say it's like, sure, we started as a swing band. A lot of people say, yeah, they play jazz, they play swing, but really, what we do is we now. The best way I could describe the band is that we reimagine music, and it could be anything. Like we just added about 4 or 5 songs from the '80s, like something always there to remind me, "Tainted Love." What else? "You Make My Dreams Come True," and we redid them in a different way now that adds incorporates the horns, incorporates the big band, and it's not necessarily just swing. It's just fun music with horns. It's horn driven, fun, powered music.
Yeah, you make my dreams come true. I'm actually playing it in my head to imagine what it would sound big band, or swing influenced, that great pick, man.
Ah, thank you. Yeah, we Michael gave us our manager. He gave us a list of tunes. He goes, take a look at these. The one I really liked that we took was "Help" by the Beatles,
All right.
and we gave it a Tower of Power treatment, and then made it our own. And that one has become one of my new favorites. I'm just like, oh, this feels so good. And I see it. My favorite thing is when I see people of all ages actually mouthing the lyrics back with us, and I'm like, yes, we're connecting.
Oh,
This
absolutely.
is it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Tower of Power. One of my friends happened to have been on a 2-year vacation on benefiting the state of California, and he was in the same wing as Ike Turner and one of the guys from Tower of Power, and he said they had daily jam sessions. I'm like, how
Oh,
cool! Like
really?
the worst time of your life, you get these guys you can jam with.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Here's a
Power, unbelievable, man.
right. Here's a little fun fact. So we've had one of our trumpet players just became the trumpet player for Tower of Power. He just celebrated his first year, and he did our tour last year. And he got to play Chicago. So anybody who might have seen our shows in Chicago last year, they saw Dave on trumpet, and Dave had to keep it on the hush because it was all NDA. You couldn't tell at first until when he was auditioning. And
Sure.
so he was auditioning, and he got the part, and he tells me, he goes, "Hey man," so he goes, "I know it's kind of bittersweet, but I just got the gig with Tower of Power." I'm like, "Dude, congratulations, man! That is so
Right.
awesome." Yeah. So like he's the guy for Tower of Power now. You can watch him on tour, and we're so proud of him. Dave Richards, he's out there touring with Tower of Power, and it's so cool to like see like any of our guys, getting an opportunity like that. And
Oh
and
yeah.
again, that's also why we embrace the multiple musician thing. It's
Right.
like and the bandstands and the brand become what we're there, and I try to be there every day that I can. I barely miss any days at all myself, um but it's like driving this fun show. It's like this is the show that no matter who you see on stage, we're going to bring you a good time.
Right. And that's one of the marks of a good musician. You want everyone to win. And someone you're playing with, if they're a horn player and they get that, what?
Yeah.
Go!
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Send me a ticket, but go. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great, man. I mean, because it's not like there's multiple opportunities at that level for live horns.
Exactly.
And I really think it's unfortunate what some of the people who listen to electronic based music, or people are lip syncing or whatever, or playing the tracks. It's unfortunate that when they go and they see someone perform live, they're almost confused.
Yeah.
Which is weird. because I
Yeah,
remember when the whole Milli Vanilli thing happened. That was like,
that was the first of it.
that was like, and now it's everyone's doing it.
That's the norm.
Yeah, and now we have a bunch of in the rock scene, we have a bunch of bands that are aging out and retiring and stuff. And Steven Tyler, Aerosmith just retired. But man, when I heard about his injury as a singer, because I was a singer,
Yeah.
man, to fracture your larynx, I wouldn't want to
Oof.
sing ever again. I'd be like, I'm done right there. I'm sure it had something to do with insurance and business cycles, and I get it.
Yeah.
But like, I'd be like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
'Cause if he injured it again, he might not be able to speak.
Right.
And
That's
people,
the not that I don't he didn't injure his voice, but he had a stroke. Who was it? Randy Travis. Are you
yeah,
familiar? Yeah, like how he had something, his vocal cords got paralyzed or something,
yeah,
and so now I think he's actually, I don't know if I heard this correctly, but I think he's like hired somebody that will sing his songs for him, and they're somehow utilizing AI to kind of like still bring Randy's shows while he's still alive,
yeah,
which
that's
is
cool.
really interesting use of that technology that we have, and an interesting approach when your voice is just gone. And boy, that's a day I hope I never have to see.
Like for instance, this just happened. Uh, the band Dokken. So Don Dokken's been
Hmm.
having health issues, and his voice isn't what it was when he's 20. No one is when
Right.
we've been doing it for 40 years. But now there's another person singing for Dokken,
Hmm.
and that's just weird because there's no original. But like
It,
people, oh well, this, that, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. I came up with jazz and the blues and country. Let's quit calling it cover band. They're playing standards.
yeah.
That's all they're doing. And if you put it in that context, it makes sense. And then people hopefully will drop the drama around it. But the music
Right.
still gets played. I mean, look how many people play Beethoven. Come on,
Right. Yeah.
same
I
thing.
orchestras are cover bands.
Right, exactly. That's all. Right, exactly. Exactly. That's all they are is cover bands.
Yeah,
You know?
that's what I love when we do the songs. Like, I you could tell each chapter and era of Fat Cat Swinger, because in the beginning like in the beginning, actually our first album goal was to be an original band, so we
Yeah,
wrote and performed original music, but it was only going so far, so we started incorporating covers, and
yeah,
then there's an era of like where it was pretty much our a cover of what you would hear, but with our instrumentation. Then came the idea of reimagining songs, and then
yeah.
it was like, okay, let's try to present it in a new way and see how it goes, and so on and so on. But yeah.
Yeah, one of the coolest things I love about music is when other people cover other people and they twist it, and it's like,
Yes.
that's really cool. And then you find one that is better than the original.
Rare but cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. That's a great day. And
Yeah.
one of the conversations that we've been having on this show, because we have a ton of musicians that come on, and one of the guys who's just on, I just interviewed Joel Hoekstra, just ended that about an hour ago, right before I interviewed you, and he does, the Trans Siberian Orchestra Christmas shows and all that
Hmm.
stuff. So all that stuff's interesting. But we're talking about cover bands versus original. It's so hard, because I have friends of mine. They're like, my band's only going to play originals. I said, that's great, play in your garage. I said, but do you want to be a working musician?
Hmm.
If you want to be a working musician, you're going to have to, and in today, do some kind of covers or whatever. Da da da. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you can have all whatever you want to say. But do you want to play?
Yeah.
Throw one of your songs in here and there. But no one anymore, it seems,
Right.
doesn't go out to see a band that's totally original unless they're up and away already.
Right. And I think most bands that get to that point have also started by doing the cover songs.
Right.
And now, like, I'm noticing, like, when you're an artist that gets to a certain level and your songs are recognized, I noticed that when you throw in your interpretation of a cover of something, like, the audience almost appreciates it even more now, because it's like they have this other connection. Like, oh yeah, oh man, did you hear the way they sang this song? Like, I can't think of the cover that he did, but one of the artists that I just remember seeing something like that with online, Teddy Swims. Have you seen Teddy Swims yet, or heard of him yet?
No.
Check out Teddy Swims. He's on his way up, and this guy, he's got that song. I think it's "I Lose Control." Beautiful song, original song, and that one popped off. But I was seeing something where he did a cover, and then him and his wife sang together on this cover, and it was like, and they did on stage, and it was really, and the audience was just like loved them even more now, you know. But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
covers. I think covers are essential to kind of getting you somewhere, you know. Like,
Like when Chris Stapleton, even he had been a producer for years, and all of a sudden he does Tennessee Whiskey with his what?
yeah,
Oh my God, what a great performance that was
yeah,
at Austin City Limits when they did. I mean, I'm not a country guy, and it made me cry. You know what I mean? I'm
yeah.
like,
It's
wow,
beautiful,
holy
beautiful.
cow, you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, like for instance, I pulled up to one of my buddies are all waiting for me, and I pulled up. I got out of my car. I'm like, if I hear "Stairway to Heaven" one more time, I'm running into traffic. Like, how many times can you hear the same 12 songs? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But so when I hear someone cover it and they nail it, that's just even
Yeah.
still want to enjoy it. But okay, we get that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny how musicians are. They come to the show, they're just checking you. They should be playing originals.
I like a good balance. Like me personally, my thing is, if when I go watch a band, I'm like, I hope to be entertained. I
Yeah,
hope, or just either that, or that just it sounds so good that I just don't even, I could close my eyes and just enjoy what I'm
yeah.
listening to, you
And it's
know.
really cool that music now, after everyone's gone through the plague and, live music's coming back. We lost some venues, other venues
Yeah.
are opening up, but people are coming out. They're more comfortable now. And I'm noticing in the search for new music that I do every week that fun is coming back in music. And across the board was missing for a while. I mean, there were certain genres that were fun
Yeah.
always,
Hmm.
but in general,
Hmm.
it's a feel good type of music that seems to be percolating up.
I'm happy to hear that because that's what we've been focusing on for all our years in Fat Cat, and it's and
Yeah,
I always hoped I was like I said, when we started this, we started with the intention of being a swing band, and we wanted like what, maybe when this comes around again, we'll be a little more at the top of our own game,
yeah,
and I feel like that fun factor. That's kind of been something that I hear from the audience every day that we play, and I don't
yeah,
get tired of hearing it because it's like thank you for reinforcing that and
yeah.
and, and reassuring me that that the chance that we're taking in being a big band like this
Right.
is paying off in your smile and you're happy and everybody. It's like everyone's looking for fun.
And one of the added benefits of great music is the ability to dance if you can, even if you can't.
Yeah,
Shake it if you got it, even if you don't.
just move a little bit, little
Yeah.
shoulder here.
And
You
they've done
know,
multiple studies, and the number one treatment they say for PTSD,
hmm,
most effective, is to dance.
yeah,
Makes perfect sense.
yeah, yep, absolutely,
And I never
absolutely.
understood bands that played that, when I was back in the day, like, oh, let's play. I'm like, dude, if the girls ain't dancing, the guys ain't coming. You know what I mean? Like, well,
Sure.
you can have the sausage fest if you want, that's fine, but music should be for everybody.
Right, exactly, for everybody. And that's also that usually what guides us. And when we it's interesting when we take the show because like we were going through our song list as we were making our show list for Dollywood, and we're like, we have this many openers, this many closers, and like it's hard to find those in the middle songs. But they're like, no. But then we started finding them, and then we started adding them, and we're like, okay, we think this will be a good transition song because it's almost like too much simulation is also too much at some point, right? So you gotta find those breather moments and building that set list. It's that's probably the biggest challenge for me every single show.
Yeah.
You know.
And one of my favorite things is when someone lets their songs breathe.
Hmm.
You don't need to fill every spot, every space. Sometimes the silence within the notes is half,
Hmm.
half the song. But
Yep.
music is the place where everyone. It's a great equalizer.
Yeah.
Like none of any whatever's going on and people upset about this or the other thing or whoever. None of that. It's music time, man.
Exactly.
It's time to have fun and
Yep.
smile and say hey to your neighbor and have a great time with them. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I saw a lot of that too, and I loved it because mentioning earlier how that I saw international people. you could clearly tell everyone, from so many different countries at Dollywood. And then you also have your locals as well. And it's just seeing everyone coming together and smiling and having a good time. It didn't matter what shirt or hat they had on. It was just like you
Yeah,
see everyone coming together in
yeah.
that theater, and everyone was smiling. Everyone is having a good time, and that for me is like a huge payoff. It's just the bringing of everyone together like that.
90% of my friends I've met through music.
Yeah,
Either at a
yeah.
show, jamming with them, going to, talking about music, whatever. 90%
hmm
all attached to music.
I
You know.
think if I think about that, that would be pretty accurate number for me too. I mean, I'm trying to think of everyone that I've met and still stay in touch with and hang out with.
Oh yeah,
We're all everyone's music related, or they go to concerts and love live music.
right.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like when you start talking to someone and you're like, you maybe a minute in the conversation, you're like, oh, you like that? Well, have you listened to Anthony Cole?
Yes.
He's like, you need to get,
Yes.
and then it gets infectious, and then the
Oh
next,
man.
know, you know.
I've got friends that we share playlists, and it's like all right, like what put your findings, and let's see what we got, and it's so fun to discover music together. I love it. I
Oh yeah,
still love it.
like we did a tunage. It's going to be airing tomorrow, and it's this band from Japan, and it's called Jinjen Aisu, and it's a metal song. It's off their
hmm
23rd album, and we couldn't six different there's like six songs in this one song, and we were just blown away. And you're so excited when that happens because you're not expecting, that we assumed that they'd be good. 23rd album, of course,
Yeah, yeah,
but
right.
we were like, we were almost, we could not believe it. And that's what's so cool, that you can still find music like that. The great thing about the internet is everyone can put out their music. The bad thing
Yeah.
about the internet is everyone can put out their
We're
music.
going to say everything. Yes.
You have to do more sifting. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
So who do you listen to, like when you're not playing? Do you
Oh
listen
gosh.
in that genre, or you're all over the place outside
It
of it?
really it really depends on the day and the mood. Because after with the and I don't know if this is for you too when when you're playing, but our show is so high energy and so big and loud that like I go completely opposite and I go peaceful and soft and quiet. And
Gotcha.
so I've been digging into lately. I will ask Apple or Spotify or any of the apps because I use them all to one to keep track of our music as well, but also to each of them have different algorithms of what they present to me.
Yeah.
And so I love diving. If I need to relax, I jump into like Lord Huron and Coldplay. Um, if I want something upbeat, I love the oldies. I love the classics. Like I'll jump into something maybe Sign Seal Deliver, Stevie Wonder, Radio, and go. You know, and I'd be like, that's like I use that to wake up in the morning, or I'll use like what was it? Katrina and is it Katrina and the Waves Walking on Sunshine? If I want something upbeat for the morning, if I want something chill, um, I already said chill, but what else do I got? And then if I want a little different, I actually reach out to my band members, and sometimes I'll be like, hey, what are you listening to?
Yeah.
And they'll introduce me to something different. I wish Hannah was around right now. She's always got some really interesting artists that she'll point out, and one of them I can't remember the name. I think it's like I'm gonna botch this, and I'm so sorry, but I think it's like Sufran or Sujan, something. But this artist, and I started listening. I was like, oh, that's beautiful. I love the music. It's so I just love listening to things that paint a new landscape. Because it's like the yin to my yang of my show. It's like our show is so high energy. So oftentimes
Right.
I go the very opposite when I listen.
Yeah, Michael Sweet, the singer from Striper. My co-host thought that he'd be a metalhead. He's like, man, when I'm not playing that, it's like Elvis and other things. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
why, you can't always be bombarded. That's the gig, and then this is not the gig.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But so what was the song that made you want to become a musician?
Oh gosh.
Was
I
there
think it
some?
was actually, I think it was, I can remember one of the coolest, it was actually an uncle of mine.
Okay.
Um, Well, I guess great uncle, because it was my grandmother's brother. He came in from El Salvador one time, and I remember being a kid, um, and I saw him play the keyboard, and the way that he played the keyboard and made that thing into a party. Like, it was, I don't know if he was using, as a kid, you know what you know, like, but it was like the coolest thing I had heard, right? And he would play, and he had like, it sounded like, and I'm sure it was just whatever Casio at the time, but I mean, he was the only one in our family who was an actual musician and made a living off of it. But he would turn that keyboard into a party, and he sang, and I was just like, that is so cool. And then shortly after that, I just started playing with instruments. I think I was 4 years old when my parents started introducing instruments to me, and my first band, I was 14 years old,
Mhm.
and it was with three brothers, and we would get together after school every single day. And my favorite thing was that, we'd get there, we'd play video games, we'd have a good meal, and then we start playing music. And we would be there till 10, 11 o'clock, almost 5, 6, 7 days a week. Like, and we wanted to be there. Like, we were just listening to records, and it didn't matter if it was cassette tape, vinyl, 8-track, everything. Like,
Mhm.
his dad had this huge collection of just everything. Be like, all right, guys, I want you to listen to this. We're gonna put on we learned, I think, what was it? I think Tower of Power had a song called System of Survival, and so we would learn that straight off the vinyl, and we would pick it up and start playing it. And that musicianship that I gained with the brothers, and that brotherhood that I gained through that, like, I had that feeling just because I was the only boy in my family,
Mhm.
and um, so I gained this brotherhood with them, and having that just drove me further to wanting to be in a band, um, and make band my life. I mean, I feel like at sixth grade was the first time I had an instrument. When my parents could afford one, and it was the saxophone, and that was what, and I just kept going and going and going. So, yeah,
Right on. Yeah, my oldest son plays reed instruments, and then
yeah,
also plays the bass. My youngest son plays the drums and the guitar. I got a drum kit right here.
yeah,
It's just fun, man. Like I'm not looking to gig or anything. I'm just jamming with my buddies.
hmm,
Uh, it's fun. My best friend comes in all the time. Just picks her at a certain spot in the house. He knows we're right to go because I don't play with the pick.
yeah,
But you know, like like okay, so every Sunday I spend my entire day because I'm driving all day Sundays and Brazilian jazz all day Sunday.
yeah. I like that.
Yeah, dudes, and my dad was specifically into Brazilian jazz, like the other than big band, it was Brazilian jazz, and oh
Yes.
god,
Oh,
I
that's
love
a
Sunday.
beautiful Sunday. Oh gosh, that's good. I might adopt that idea if you don't mind, Vince. I like maybe like finding a theme for each day or certain
Yeah,
days. I like that a lot.
this one it's a blues station. Well, it's 90.9. It's blues jazz, and so Sundays is Brazilian jazz, and it's the couldn't be a better
Yeah. Yep.
couldn't be a better day, and it just puts you in the right mood, even if the
Totally.
weather's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's
Mm-hmm.
upset, beeping. No, doo doo, about me.
Yeah. I love the soft voices and the textures of the instruments. Like, oh
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so you're on tour.
Yes, sir.
Oh, is this tour is going on for the rest of the year? It seems.
Yeah. So it's kind of like
Cool.
we're kind of almost always on, like, it's like but it's sometimes it'll be a weekend, sometimes it'll be like this whole Dollywood run that we just did, which is a whole month. um Everything seems to come in chunks, so and our agents do a good job of trying to batch them together as well, so that we can make the most out of a trip. um so, like, for example, we're coming out to Des Plaines and St. Charles, for the Arcada and Des Plaines Theater to play with the Mavericks. But I'm sorry, not the Mavericks, the Rascals. Mavericks is another band I wanted to mention. I really enjoyed their new album, Moon and Stars. That's one been on repeat for me lately. Um, uh, Wonderful band. But the but we're opening for the Rascals, and but the day before we go there, we're flying into Houston for a one-off to do a show out there. And then so we've got a because this is kind of like our first year touring, we do have a lot of hopping around
Sure.
uh, as while we start to develop new places to play.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of flying here and there. Like I think in November we're doing 5 or 6 different cities, and we're flying to 4 of them. In December we're flying to, Montana, Florida, and New York, all in 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little crazy like that, but yeah. And then next year we have in February we're doing Florida for like 3 weeks, just Florida. Um, so a lot of different places like that. So you could say it's kind of always going, and
Yeah.
for that reason the show is always evolving too. We have our agents wanted us to package a couple shows, so we have one called The Wonderful World of Swing and this, and it's like we do what those were intended to do, but also we continue to evolve them because we just like to do that as a band. We were talking yesterday, like what could we do next, and we're like, what, maybe we could pick a couple songs that we just love from video games, and we'll maybe do that, or from a couple movies, and try that and just see what happens. And any one given idea could spark an entire new show all of a sudden. So
That's
it's
totally
it's what I just never want to get locked into one little thing. I just want us to
right.
come for the fun, come for this, and yeah, so our tour will always be going. And when we have enough of a collective amount of ideas, we'll make an album out of it. And then, but until then, we have our 5 albums and our show that we take out on the road and have a good time.
And you can find the albums and links to your tickets for your performances at fatcatswinger.com. And you'll be in Chicago August 24th and 25th.
Yes,
And
sir.
Ron Anesti, what he's done for the Chicago music scene is simply incredible. I mean, he's helping save live music here. So
What I saw when we came into Chicago, because I met him many years ago playing with another band, and for him to invite my band and bring us out to Chicago and just ultimately, I mean, in a way, he's investing in us just with the time and giving us the space,
yeah, for sure.
and it's just so honored to be a part of it and to see what he's doing. Like he's really truly the way that I mean, he's posting all the time about concert after concert after concert, and I'm just like, wow, this is
Yeah,
amazing. It's great, and I love that the community supports it to keep it going.
for
It's
sure. And
great.
there's nothing better than finding a new band or a new song, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
What? And it just makes the day better. But I know you've got to get to. You're trying to get to Sonoma by a certain point tonight, so you can have a restaurant in a place that you missed on your way
The
past
way
time.
we're
But
hoping we'll take I mean, whatever happens. If we get there late, that's okay, but we're hoping to make it tonight. We are aiming to get to Santa Rosa, New Mexico. So even if we get in close to midnight, that'll be all right. And and then tomorrow we hope to have dinner in Sedona, and then that'll be the relaxed part before we play our show Friday in Los Angeles. So
gotcha. And where at in LA are you performing?
so we're playing downtown Los Angeles. It's a place called the Cicada Club. If you were
Okay.
to go to this place, it's like walking into a time capsule. Like all of a sudden you're in. Uh, the easiest way to describe it is like all of a sudden you're in one of Great Gatsby's party rooms. The entire place is just gold and black, and they have dinner there and drinks and chandelier from what's that, American Horror Story. This was actually the hotel lobby of American Horror Story,
Yeah.
and many other movies. But it's such a fun place, and we play there. It's kind of one of our we do this show 2 to 3 times a year, and it's a fun place in downtown Los Angeles. Though Cicada Club,
Nice.
Friday the 16th, we'll be there.
When I lived in LA, I used to go to the Brown Derby. It was right down the street from me.
Yes, I miss that, and I love it.
And I got to see, what was it, Squirrel Nut Zippers and uh, what's the other band? You mentioned them earlier. They
Royal
came out.
Crown Review,
No, they came out at the same time. They popped the same time.
Sherry Poppin' Daddies.
Yeah. Saw
Yeah,
both of those guys before they got huge at the Derby. What a
Well,
great place that was, man.
yes. Oh my God. I got to play there a few times before it closed, and also see shows there that I was like just so fun. Love that. Love that. Miss that venue so very
Yeah,
much.
for
Yeah.
people who don't know, it was a place literally shaped like a big Derby hat.
Derby hat. The inside of a derby hat. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, not that people were taking mind-altering substances when they built that, but you know, I'm sure it had something to do with it.
Exactly.
Well, I wish you
Exactly.
nothing but the best. Thank you so much for being the first person to report live from the tour van. I think that is
Yeah.
that's awesome. Anytime
Thank
you
you.
want to promote something, you're more than welcome to come on. We'd love to have you. Welcome to the
Thank you.
Talking family. You're a great guy to talk to, music fan, and it's always nice to meet good people who deserve the success that they garner, and you happen to be one of those guys, because I
Thank you so
didn't
much,
know who you
Vince.
were an hour and a half ago, and I know I could sit down with you for 5 hours and have
Let's
really
do it
great.
sometime. We'll be in
Absolutely.
Chicago, and if I have to add an extra day, it would be wonderful to do so. So
Right on, man. Well, thank you, and good luck to the band and everybody. Of course, go check out fatcatswinger.com, like them on their socials, go buy their music, go listen to their music, subscribe, do all the kind of good stuff, and help these guys out because they deserve it. And bringing live music to the people. Thank you, Marco, and we'll see you guys next time on Creativity Talking. Take care.
thank you, Vince. Bye.